Hi everyone. Today I am cozy in my living room. Your assignment for this week is going to be what I'm calling a mood portrait. It's going to be an overlay of a portrait and another image. For my graphic design classes, you'll do this on Photoshop. For my art classes, you can choose whether to do it on Photoshop or by hand. So I have my assistant here. This is a painting that my husband did. This is Marco. This is his profile. So I'm showing you this. It's a side view of his face. So that is the type of portrait you want to get. You can take a photograph of yourself, or it could be someone in your household if you'd rather. And then you're going to juxtapose another image with that, and that is supposed to be of your current mood. So what I'm gonna do is include an image of a landscape of somewhere I've gone hiking because I miss going hiking and I'm kind of sad and I love hiking. So this could be like sad if you feel sad, or more positive and happy. Represent your mood in how you do it, and that can be in the colors and the feel of it. So my art students, you could do it in Photoshop too. Adobe Photoshop is free to download for students right now. I'm gonna link a PDF with directions of how to do that. So if you wanna do it on Photoshop, you can, or you can do it by hand. And I'm gonna show you on the computer how to do that. Okay, I am going to show you in Photoshop how to overlay and mask out your profile portrait with whatever other photograph you want to use. So open Photoshop, go to File, Open, and then find the pictures on your computer. So here's the picture of my profile. I would find a blank wall to stand in front of so it's easier to cut around, and then open in a different file the landscape or other like a mood image you want to use. This is something that I miss. This is a picture I took while hiking. I was with lots of my friends on that hike, so I miss hiking, but I miss my friends too. I'm sure you do also. Okay, so first in here, I'm gonna crop it using the crop tool over there. I'm gonna crop it pretty close in, trying to get rid of all the other background stuff too. Control-0 brings it to full screen. And then click on this lock over here to unlock the layer. And then there's a couple different ways you can make the selection of your face to mask it out. So we learned some of these before, hopefully you remember. You can try to do the quick select tool, but the best, most precise way is to use the pen tool and turn that into a path and a selection. But this quick select might work if you have a very empty blank background and if it's a different like color and value than your face. So if I click again, see how it shows a plus sign? That means it'll add to the selection you have. So this did pretty well selecting the background. I could zoom in. Holding Control and doing plus and minus will zoom in and out. If I hold the space bar, that hand appears and I can move the artboard. So notice if I hold down the Alt button, there's a minus instead. So I'm gonna hold Alt and try and subtract some of these little areas to get around my hair better. That's pretty good. Hair is tricky. I'm happy with that. So to do a layer mask, come over here and click this. If you hover over it, it says Add Layer Mask. So notice that selected the wrong part. So I'm going to do Control-Z, Edit Undo, and then come up to Select and Inverse. I also could feather the edges of this selection so it has a little bit softer edge. Select, come to select, and then modify, and then feather. And that will feather the edge of your selection here. That's too many pixels. I might do 2. This really depends on the resolution of your image, which I don't know what yours is, but probably about 2 pixels is okay. You don't want it to be too fuzzy. You want it to be soft enough to look more natural, but not noticeably fuzzy. Now I'm gonna add the layer mask. See how right here, this is the mask and the black shows what is hidden and the white is what is visible. So if I wanted to, I could use the brush tool over on the left. I need to move that. Make sure that black is on top here. Use the brush tool. If I use the brackets, kind of right below the plus and minus on my keyboard, those bracket symbols, I can make that bigger or smaller. So if I wanted to make more things hidden, I could. See, but I don't really want to do that. That's just an example. Or if I want to make things showing that are not showing that I hid by accident, I would make white on the top, zoom in, and I could come around here and sort of clean that up more, make it more natural looking. The hardness of the brush makes a difference too. So for my hair, I don't want a hard brush. I want a softer brush. I could also change the opacity of the brush if I wanted it to like fade out into nothing. I could change the opacity up here. So I could come around and make this softer, but probably later it won't really matter. Okay, I'm gonna push Control-0 to go back to the full screen. And then I'm gonna come to my landscape image, Control-0. And if I wanted to do any color editing, I would do it here. Like if I wanted the whole thing to have more of a blue tone, I would make my color adjustments here. Go to Image, Adjustments, whatever you want to change. Like maybe you want to increase the contrast, or maybe you would want to make the whole thing more dull or more bright. You can change the saturation here. You can change the color. I really wouldn't do this. It usually looks funky, but I want, so, you know, play around, have fun with it. I think I want to make this more blue looking. Maybe I want to add a filter. You can play around with the filters, play around with the adjustments under image. Okay, grab the image, hover on top of this tab, come down into your picture and drop it. So this is so big because it must be a much bigger resolution than my face photo was. So Control-T will let me resize it to whatever I want. And then to set it at the size that you want, you have to hit Enter to get out of the transform tool. And then, okay, once you drop in your landscape image or other photograph, it should be on the bottom. And then you still need to have these selection little dancing dot things. Those still need to be there. You need to have your selection active. You made the selection on this layer, but if you click on the next layer, the selection is still in the same shape. While the selection is active, but you have clicked on your bottom layer, then you hit this layer mask button again, and it has masked out the same shape. I actually want to bring this back onto the top now. So see, this is the landscape in the shape of my head. So this lock button, if you unlock it, this link in between those two things, unlock it there, and then you can move the picture around within the silhouette. So you can make it bigger, smaller, reposition it to a place where you'll like how it looks. I think that looks good. And then I'm gonna relink it. Next, this menu is the layer blending options. So if I hover over each of these options, it shows me a different blending mode. Some of them are really funky. The one that I use the most with other projects is multiply, but I don't actually like how that looks. So what we're gonna do, hold shift and select both of these and go to duplicate layers. That way you have two layers that are still the same. I'm gonna hide them so it's not messing with what I'm seeing. And then click back on the top one so that we're keeping these down here. It's always good to have a duplicate just in case. And then maybe I'll change the opacity of one of my images. Like changing the opacity might help, changing the brightness. If I go to image adjustments, I want to try and make it lighter, my face. There's different ways to do that. You can do brightness, contrast, levels. I can see the change over here. So I'm gonna make it brighter and then go back to my layer styles and see if I like, make sure you click on this top image on the picture, not on the mask. Then with the bottom picture brightened, that may be a little better. This overlay is pretty interesting, but I still want to see the landscape a little more. So a lot of this is just experiment, try something, go back, try something else. Okay, so I'm gonna change the opacity of my face and see where I like it. So right now the opacity is about 32%. I like that. I could keep messing with it and trying different things, or I could just be happy with that. And I am pretty happy with that. Feel free to rewind, pause. So if you turn this into me, turn it in as a JPEG. I would love to see what you've done. So graphic design students, put this in your Google Drive folder, and then also email me and tell me that you did, so I know to look in there. Art students, you can email it to me or submit it at turnitin.com. Hi class, my cat is biting me, stop it. No. All right, come back. Ow, ow, you're crazy, stop it.